UC Berkeley MIMS program is one of my favorite MIS programs because all our alums who have gone there have chalked out wonderful and successful career paths later on. Now, until last year, or at least for last 3 to 5 years, our clients have gotten a lot of love from this program. We have had tremendous admits there. But 2023 is when I saw some of the very excellent profiles in our group getting rejected from this MIMS program, and that was quite disheartening because I do think they had very good deserving profiles, and this just kind of shows you how unpredictable these admits can be. So today's video is all about wrapping up our latest application season. I want to share our clients' results, and I have observed some new patterns this year, so I will be sharing those observations. What are my key takeaways and what does it mean for applicants going forward from next cycle? So if you're planning to apply to MS in USA, this video will be very helpful. Let's get started. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe because we have some exciting content coming up every weekend for you. So guys, it's been 10 years since I started Scholar Strategy, and I worked with more than 700 people in this time frame personally, and many more via our masterclasses and group coaching programs. Today, I'm excited to wrap up our 2023 application season, share the admits, some of the surprising rejects, but also sharing some lessons and tips for next year's applicants. So do make sure that you watch it till the end for those tips. In last few years, we have cracked some special programs. These are the programs which Indians don't often apply to. So I want to start with those results first. So first, let's begin with the finance programs. And this is a heartening news. I see these programs becoming more popular. Here you have programs like MFE or Quant Finance, Computational Finance kind of programs. So we get very few applicants for these, but in last 2 years, one candidate got admits to UCLA MFE, NCSU MS in Financial Mathematics, and one candidate with very mediocre profile but very hardworking guy, he has been able to crack Rutgers, UT Dallas and Stevens. So I'm very proud because it just goes on to show that, like, you know, while of course your profile matters, but if you're willing to work on your story, polish your SOP, make sure your projects line up, which this guy did very well. We iterated like in numerous times on his SOP, but he persisted, and all these admits just, like, you know, give me hope that yes, a good application always stands out. Then we had some good admits from design and HCI program. This is one of the, like, we get couple of candidates every few years who want to go for these, and here we got admit from California College of Arts, the Masters in Design program, which is pretty special. And we had admits from HCDE program and MSTI programs at University of Washington, which I think is a great university in terms of location and brand, and also from University of Michigan MSI programs. Now let's come to the core engineering MS and PhD programs. So among the core programs like computer science and electrical engineering, our clients with strong profiles were able to crack Georgia Tech, UIUC, UCLA, University of Wisconsin-Madison, UC San Diego, USC, NYU Courant, NCSU, University of Chicago MPCS program, and also PhD at Stony Brook. Now we had a few chemical and mechanical engineering clients in between, and we saw admits from Penn State University, Purdue and NCSU. Now related applicants who were targeting programs like software engineering or MEng in CS kind of programs, we got admits from CMU Silicon Valley Software Management, Cornell Tech, Duke MEng, UPenn MSc program, UT Austin MSc program, etc. Now I want to add a special note for people whose GPAs were less than 8. It was clearly a struggle. For these profile, we saw admits to University of Florida, Arizona State, Sunny Buffalo, University of Utah, etc. Let's then move on to data science, analytics and operation research kind of programs, and here we got admits to UC San Diego Machine Learning, UT Austin MS in Operation Research, Georgia Tech MSOR, Penn State Analytics, Georgia Tech Analytics, Rutgers Data Science, and then of course lower ranked programs like Indiana University Bloomington, Sunny Buffalo, Arizona State, etc. Among MIS and MEM folks, which is, by the way, number of applicants is just increasing every year, we have been regularly cracking CMU MISM, Duke MEM, Cornell MEM, Purdue, UWash MIS, TAMU MIS, which is by the way a very good ROI program, UMCP, Sunny Buffalo, Syracuse, etc. So I think I'm pretty happy with the overall kind of admits we get. We always crack one of those extra ambitious programs each year, which is always a good feeling. But yes, sometimes we get very, very shocking rejects, like profiles with very good GPA. Even some papers we saw struggling them with some of the mundane programs, which is surprising. I see often this struggle happens when either your GPA is low or you're trying to switch branches from non-CS to CS. Then we do get these shocking kind of results once in a while. Now let's move on to what are my observation, what patterns have I seen, and what are my takeaways for next year's applicants. Let's talk about GPA. So one clear repercussion I'm seeing of GRE becoming optional is universities have started relying more on the GPA and academic grades. So people used to think that schools like UT Dallas and Northeastern, they should be safe schools, but honestly they are not. They are quite GPA centric. In fact, I don't think lately I have seen any admits to these universities where GPA was less than 8.5. So that just goes on to show what kind of competitions or expectation there are from university side. And I understand this is bad news for people whose GPA is already low, because now they struggle. You cannot change your GPA, and if there's no other way to show your academic aptitude, then you really cannot do anything about it. So if your GPA is less than 7.5 or 7, honestly there are no safe schools. So you must apply to good number of schools to maximize your chances. So my advice, if you are still in college, make sure your GPA doesn't slip, because you can never fully compensate for it. And let's say if you have graduated already and your GPA is low, what can you do? Well, firstly, I would say that apply to good number of mid-tier and low-tier programs. You cannot afford to be very rank-centric. In this case, you will have to compromise on the schools if your GPA is low. Secondly, I would say go for GRE and try to prefer schools which are looking at GRE score, because then you have some way of showing your academic aptitude, right? Because if you get a very, very good, let's say 325 plus or 330 plus GRE score, you can show them that, hey, I can handle math, I can handle basic coursework, So it always helps to have something else in your profile where there are some sort of degrees, grades or academic scores that give this comfort to the admission committee that you will not struggle with the coursework, which is what they're worried about when the GPA is very low. And lastly, I would say pay good attention to SOP and LORs and everything else in your application in this case if your GPA is low, because you just cannot afford to write poorly, because they are already questioning your capability. And if these other material are also not of great quality, then it's outright reject for you. Second factor I want to talk about is unpredictability. So I was already telling you guys how we our clients really struggled with UC Berkeley MIMS program this year, and which was quite surprising. But this just goes on to show how subjective or unpredictable these decisions are. So I feel universities try to shake their pools every few years, and they may change their criteria slightly. They want a different mix of the class maybe and things like that. So we saw the same thing happening with UIUC MCS program and Cornell MEng CS program. So we used to get a lot of admits there, but then for a few years in between we received no admits there, and now we have started again seeing some admits. So all I want to say is it's really, really unpredictable. Do not be stingy when choosing schools. So apply to good number of schools. This is why I emphasize you must apply to at least 10 schools, because then it helps dividing, having enough ambitious, moderate and safe schools in your list. You must have good number of schools and also some safe schools, because you honestly never know what's going to happen. So just be prepared and take your best shots and apply to enough number of schools to maximize your chances. Third factor I want to talk about is competition. And honestly, if I were applying today, I don't think I'll be able to crack UIUC. I'm seeing competition is just rising every year, and ever since COVID, I think schools are getting more and more competitive and selective. So you cannot take these applications for granted at all. Apart from applying to enough number of schools, as we discussed in the last point, I do think try to apply early, because I see a clear advantage of that, and spending enough time on your applications so that you you can work on your story, refine your SOPs and all those things. Try to understand your profile gaps and see if you can fill those. So all this happens if you start to plan your application early on. So all those things help, but yes, it's getting pretty competitive. So also think of what are some non-competitive programs I can apply to, and this just does not mean going lower in the rank, but also thinking of alternative programs. For example, I've already talked about in previous video, if you just want software development jobs in any kind of company in US, you don't have to go for masters in computer science only. You can go for masters in software engineering also, or maybe MIS also. So explore those options and try to see whatever you can do to improve your chances at getting admits. And please be conservative when it comes to choosing schools. Definitely have 2-3 ambitious schools, but do make sure you're applying to some moderate and safe schools as well. So that was my wrap of 2023 application season at Scholar Strategy. I do think like if you don't have enough time, you should work with a well-informed consultant, because they can help you make some decisions, avoid some mistakes, and apply to right kind of programs. So I feel 200% invested in the success of our clients, and this is the reason I take very few clients each year so that I can spend enough time with them. So if you go for any consultant, make sure you do proper homework and understand who you are going to work with, because you don't want to work with some faceless people and just English editors giving you grammatical comments on your SOP. So take your application seriously and put good quality efforts into it so that you can crack that dream admit, because that one admit is going to make all the difference in your career trajectory later on. If you want to work with us, as I said, I take very few clients. I don't know if we'll have even seats left by the time you contact us, but I will leave the contact information below in case you want to check that option out. So that was it from my side. All the very best for next year's applications, and if you have questions in general, please leave them in the comments, and I will see you next week with a fresh new video. Thanks and bye-bye.